The spooky season is upon us, and I recently revisited Friday the 13th from 2009 and felt like it was time to re-examine some horror remakes. So I'm going to tell you about my top 20 horror remakes of all time. Before I get started, why don't you comment down below some of your favorite horror remakes. Let's get into it. Number 20, Nosferatu from 2024. A remake of the classic from 1922. This classic gothic tale of obsession follows a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its quest to have her. Now this is a relatively new movie, obviously, came out within the last year. I actually got the sarcophagus popcorn bucket for this movie, I enjoyed it so much. But love it or hate it, this was great as far as remakes go, you know what I mean? I wasn't dying to rewatch this a bunch when I got home. The visuals in this film alone make it worth checking out if you didn't see it in theaters. If you're looking for horny vampires, you know, look no further, that's all I'm saying. Number 19, Maniac from 2012, a remake of the 1980 classic, follows Frank Zito, a schizophrenic young man who runs a mannequin restoration business, where he works during the day. However, at night he murders women, scalps them, and attaches their hair to the mannequins. This movie has an absolutely legendary performance from Elijah Wood. This can be a very triggering movie if you've gone through any sort of abuse or anything. It is hard to watch, but it's also excellent. And its reuse of Goodbye Horses, excellent. Not to mention the score for this movie is incredible. I listen to samples of it for every Halloween. What I'm saying is this movie could easily mess you up. If you've seen the original and you haven't seen the remake, it's time to change that.
Night of the Living Dead.
Number 18, Night of the Living Dead from 1990. Obviously a remake of the 1968 classic from George Romero, follows 7 strangers as they meet and survive in a rural farmhouse following the awakening of cannibalistic zombies, killing everyone in their path. Obviously the original is a classic. It holds up well, and it's iconic in its own right, and people have very mixed feelings on the remake. Personally, I quite enjoy it. I think we need more stuff like this. Like, that was definitely a movie worth updating and seeing what they could get away with and do. Executed almost flawlessly. You get a great double feature and you watch this and Dead Alive. Now, the Dead movies have had a lot of remakes, some of them better than others. Particularly the Day of the Dead ones were really bad. And I love Day of the Dead, so.
David, there's somebody outside.
Number 17, The Crazies from 2010, a remake of the 1973 classic, follows Sheriff David Dutton in the fictional Iowa town of Ogden Marsh that becomes afflicted by a biological agent that turns those infected into violent killers. Now this is as close as you can get to being a zombie movie without being a zombie movie. All the classic signs are there, except they're not really cannibalistic or flesh-eating. They're just murdersome. And listen, that's just as fun. The cast is fantastic, stars Timothy Olyphantastic. Now this is one I could see people arguing that the remake is actually better than the original, although the original holds up well. That's not what we're here to talk about. But this remake is fucking great. I saw it in theaters, and I have a kind of nostalgia for that time period, you know? If this is one that slipped past you, you need to go and check this one out. Number 16, Friday the 13th from 2009. A remake of the 1980 classic, follows Clay Miller as he searches for his missing sister Whitney, who's captured by Jason Voorhees while camping in the woods at Crystal Lake. This is kind of what started me on the idea to do this list. I've talked about horror remakes before on this channel, but I recently acquired the Friday the 13th Scream Factory set, and I was inclined to check out Friday the 13th, 2009 again. And I had a pretty good time with it. Now, it's still not going to rank super high in my Friday the 13th rankings or anything, you know, certainly not above Part 8. But what I will say is it's better than the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. But in all seriousness, it's actually quite enjoyable. You know, they sort of went the condensed route, sort of open up the movie with the plot of the original movie, and then quickly moved to parts 2 and 3 throughout this movie, and it works well. I think people have come around on this one and have come to accept it, so. Number 15, My Bloody Valentine 3D from 2009, the remake of the 1981 film. This one follows the residents of a small town that is plagued by a killer in mining gear on Valentine's Day, believed to be the same murderer thought to have died a decade prior. Now, I'm a big sucker for holiday horror. In particular, Christmas horror has a very special place in my heart. But My Bloody Valentine, the original and the remake, mind you, I saw this remake in theaters before I had seen the original, and I was like, just stoked to see a 3D horror movie. Like, it was very interesting and unique at the time. Like, this was when 3D was starting to come back in theaters, but it was just the classic red and blue 3D. This is one I would actually like to upgrade the Blu-ray. I have the DVD of this one, and I watch it every Valentine's Day, or at least around Valentine's Day. I think the ending and there's a interesting twist and plot element that goes on throughout this movie. I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but I think it holds up well. It's one of my favorite little twists of a slasher movie. Number 14, The Ring from 2002, a remake of the 1998 film Ringu, follows Rachel Keller, a journalist who discovers a cursed videotape that causes its viewers to die in 7 days. This is a very iconic movie. Like, if you grew up around the time that this movie was coming out, like, you probably saw it. Like, I didn't see it till it was on home video. I was like, what, 11 years old when this came out? Like, I wasn't going to actively see horror movies till 2003, I think. Because I remember seeing Texas Chainsaw, the remake, in theaters, and Freddy vs. Jason and stuff like that. But 2002 was just a tad bit premature for me to be at least seeing horror in theaters. And this is a movie that begs to be watched on a VHS tape too, right? Like, I got the 4K of this movie this year, and I didn't do a comparison video, but man, that thing looks great. With an excellent cast too, are you kidding me? Just talking about this one makes me kind of want to watch it even. It sets a certain tone and vibe, like The Ring and Signs, like that's a double feature for me that reminds me of a certain period in my life, you know? I think we might have even rented them together. Either way, The Ring is great.
Found something that can prove what I'm experiencing. You need help. Adrian is dead.
Number 13, The Invisible Man from 2020, a remake of the 1933 classic, follows a woman who believes she is being stalked and gaslit by her abusive ex-boyfriend after he acquires the technology to become invisible. This movie stars Elizabeth Moss, and I gotta say, I was not expecting much out of this. I think I went with like my brother to see this movie, and we went kind of on a whim, like, I wonder if this is any good, and just kind of wanted to go to a movie, you know? And maybe it was the expectations, maybe it was just the right time in my life, but that movie was great. During a time where I wasn't buying a lot of new physical media, like I went out and bought that movie when it came out. And I've watched it like probably 2 or 3 times since, which if you ask me is a lot for a new movie like that. The effects, the way they update the story and stuff, I thought it was brilliant, to be honest. I did not see Lee Winnell's The Wolfman. It was just one that I was too busy and I ended up missing. But based on The Invisible Man, I was really stoked for that movie. Like this one, it makes you look at that guy, you know, the guy in that dirty bathroom in Saw, and think, yeah, that guy directed this movie and he's awesome.
Where's that house of wax? It is wax. Literally.
Number 12, House of Wax from 2005 is a remake of the 1953 film of the same name, which is itself a remake of the 1933 film Mystery of the Wax Museum. It follows 5 friends on a road trip on their way to a football game when they get trapped in a seemingly empty town with a wax museum and a deadly secret. Now, I actually recently found a DVD copy of this for like $2 and was stoked. Just because I didn't have it in the collection and I really wanted it in it. It came out in like 2005. I probably watched it on 2006 on like Stars or HBO or something. Just like an afternoon, you know, make some pizza rolls and, oh, House of Wax, I'll check that out. Loved it, man. And it took me years and years to actually remember which movie this was and everything. And what's funny is I've actually met one of the guys from this movie, Chad Michael Murray. I was an extra on a TV show with him like, I don't know, 10 years ago. But this one holds up. Like, I could see rewatching a couple more times and liking it even more. I would say out of some of those Dark Castle movies that are remakes, you know, this one probably beats out House on Haunted Hill.
They're like people or something living in those hills.
Number 11, The Hills Have Eyes from 2006, a remake of the 1977 film, follows a family that is targeted by a group of cannibalistic mutants after their car breaks down in the desert. This is another one of those ones, man. The mid-2000s was like a certain time period for me that has really excellent horror, surprisingly, like when you look back, you know what I mean? And this one's no exception, and it's also really hard to watch. There's a lot of triggering things in this movie. But this is like right up there with the Texas Chainsaw remake from 2003. Like, it's that good. Again, I think this might be better than the original. And I love that one too, but the way this one's shot, what's his face? I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, who played Buffalo Bill as the dad in this movie, though. One of the guys who plays one of the cannibalistic mutants was in Land of the Dead as well. As hard as this movie is to watch, I really do love it and appreciate it. It's a work of art.
That is a terrible vampire name. Jerry?
Number 10, Fright Night from 2011, a remake of the 1985 undisputed classic, follows a teenage boy named Charlie who discovers that his neighbor is actually a vampire, which culminates in a battle between them. Listen, this is not one of the cases where the remake is better, obviously. Not even close. And I saw this remake in theaters. I was stoked, you know, when it came out. I loved Anton Yelchin. I did not love Colin Farrell, however, at the time. I went and saw Total Recall, you know, and I didn't like Colin Farrell then. Colin Farrell has since somehow earned my respect. I don't know why. I don't know why I hated him to begin with. Let's put it that way. Because I liked movies that he was in. You know, Phone Booth is actually really fucking great. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Sorry, I'm getting off track. But Fright Night, the remake of Fright Night, is not bad. I recently picked it up for like $5 on DVD somewhere. Gave it another shot after having not seen it since I saw it in theaters. And I was like, you know what? I had a great time with that. I wasn't expecting the other Fright Night, and as long as you're not, that was great. Now I can understand people not liking that one. That one, because I didn't like it for so long. For 15 years, I was like, that thing sucks. I have turned the page. I love it. You should revisit it if you haven't. Give it another shot.
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone.
Number 9, The Fly from 1986, a remake of the 1958 classic, follows an eccentric scientist who, after one of his experiments goes wrong, slowly turns into a fly-human hybrid creature. Now this, I didn't see this one until much later in life, probably like 2017 or something. I was going through a big Cronenberg phase. I had seen like Videodrome when I was a teenager, and I loved it, but didn't really look too much into it, you know, at the time. And I always, you know, was familiar with The Fly as a concept, right? And of course, I knew that there was a couple movies about it, but I never sat down and watched it, and eventually I was lured in by Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. When I think about this movie, the things that are burned into my skull are him calling himself Brundlefly and puking up on the donut, because that's how he eats stuff now. Brutal, dude. Totally brutal and wrong, and it ruins donuts for you. But it's worth it, let me tell you. Cronenberg crafts a masterpiece that is a vehicle, if you will, driven by Jeff Goldblum. And I think really only horror people and, you know, weirdos talk about this movie anymore. So definitely check it out if you haven't. Number 8, Evil Dead from 2013, a remake of the 1981 classic, follows a group of 5 people under attack by possessed corpses in a remote cabin in the woods. Now, honestly, even while I'm filming this, I'm surprised I put this so high on the list. I'm second guessing that right now, but we're gonna run with it. I know a lot of people love this Evil Dead remake. Again, I do not agree that it's better than the original, although I have seen that take out there, so it's not a super hot take. And really, even talking about this, I would rather just talk about the original. I don't have as much passion for this movie as some people, but I definitely think it holds merit. I think my biggest criticism of this movie is that they still put in the tree scene. Like, I just think it was unnecessary. It's whatever, but You'd say, well, why does the original have it? Sam Raimi, I don't know, he was 20 when he made that, you know what I mean? People who made Evil Dead 2013 knew better. And Sam Raimi knew better later in life, so.
We have to open Billy's present first. It's a tradition.
I'm really not okay with any of this. Buying a Christmas present for a serial killer?
Number 7, Black Xmas from 2006, a remake of the 1974 film. In this one, several days before Christmas, a group of sorority sisters are stalked and murdered in their house before a winter storm. Now, I saw this one in theaters as well, man. It seems like 2006 it was like one of the biggest years in horror for me, because I was like 15 years old, you know, and I was going to the movies a lot. I would not say that this one's better than the original, but it does modernize the movie without changing things too much. Like, it's obviously not the same movie, but it Texas Chainsaws Black Christmas a little bit, you know what I mean? It makes it a little gruesome and a little gross as compared to the first film. This one holds a special place in my heart. I will always love this movie and watch it every Christmas. Now, they did remake this one again, but I didn't see that one. I had zero interest in seeing yet another remake so close after you had just remade it. And that one was pretty decent, so.
Are these people alive or dead?
Hold him down!
We don't know.
Number 6, Dawn of the Dead from 2004. A remake of the 1978 film follows a group of people who try to survive a zombie apocalypse holed up in a suburban shopping mall. This is no shocker. This is a remake that, you know, I've probably seen this movie more than the original. And I'm not saying that it's better than the original. I think I just have a more personal experience with it because I had not seen the original when I watched this originally. You know, I remember with one of my first paychecks from one of my jobs, buying a 2-pack of Dawn of the Dead and Land of the Dead and watching both back to back and watching all the special features. I've actually done a video talking about the special features on the DVD for this because they're so cool, but until I made this list, I never really realized how special 2000s horror was to me. Like, I'm having an epiphany while I make this.
If it had a mind, you could reason with it. If it had a heart, you could kill it.
Number 5, The Blob from 1988, a remake of the 1958 classic, follows an acidic blob-like organism that crashes down to Earth in a military satellite, devouring and dissolving anything in its path as it grows. This is an incredible movie. This is another one of my favorite eras of movie, the late 80s, early 90s. There's some really weird and bizarre experimentation going on. The 80s being notable for having remakes of classic 50s horror movies and doing them very well. This one is a super fun. This is like a turn this movie on Saturday night with your friends with some popcorn and sodskis, you know? Any one of these on this list, if you haven't seen them, you need to check them out, but these top 5 for sure. Like the Blob remake, if you haven't seen that, fix it. Number 4, The Mummy from 1999 is a remake of the 1932 classic, follows treasure hunter Rick O'Connell as he travels to Hamunaptra, the city of the dead, with librarian Evelyn and her older brother Jonathan, where they accidentally awaken Imhotep, a cursed high priest with menacing plans. I've not seen this movie on a lot of people's best horror remakes lists or anything. In fact, I think it just gets left out of that conversation entirely. But it's one of the best. It's a little more Indiana Jonesy, sure. It's action horror, or how I would like to say horror action, because it is pretty terrifying. And that's coming from someone who saw it as like an 8-year-old at the drive-in, which is a spectacular experience and way to see this film. But everyone in this movie is hot. Everyone in this movie is a great actor. I will say some of the effects, particularly some of the mummy effects, are very dated. That's the biggest issue with this movie, is some of the effects are dated, but hey, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this movie for what it is. The sequel, the second one, not bad. Third one, not so much. Kind of lost me by that one, but it's still, in 2026, I would love to see another mummy movie with Brendan Fraser. I would go and watch another one. Number 3, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003, remake of the 1974 film, follows a group of friends traveling through rural Texas who encounter Leatherface and his murderous, cannibalistic family. This is one I saw probably way too young, but it definitely shaped where I was going and what I was going to see and experience with horror films. I actually did see this one before I saw the remake, and I was hyped for the remake. Saw that in theaters and was terrified. You know, it's weird, this is a fucked up comfort movie for me. You know what I mean? Saw is like that for my girlfriend. For me, Texas Chainsaw's like that. Like, I could see these people getting brutally messed up and all this gross shit happening, and I'm just like, I had a good childhood, didn't I? At least when I'm thinking about that part. This is another movie I think a lot of people honestly just didn't care for. They didn't like much back in the day. But it's grown. The cult audience has taken it to new heights. There are definitely people who think it's better than the original. I'm not one of them. I think it's great though.
All right, now I know I'm dreaming.
Well, your uncle was quite a collector of many things.
Number 2, 13 Ghosts from 2001. A remake of the 1960 film follows a family that inherits a spectacular house from a dead, eccentric uncle. But the house seems to have powerful, vengeful spirits trapped inside by a third party for sinister purposes. This is just an excellent movie. It might shock you that it's this high on this list, but I love it. I love Matthew Lillard. This is another comfort movie for me. I'll throw it on and just relax, you know what I mean? Like eat a Pop-Tart. I'll watch this movie to calm down from anxiety or just to have a good time. I did a video talking about just the DVD special features that explain all the different ghosts, because that's such a fun special feature. You get more lore out of that than in just the movie. And as a kid, I always connected this movie to Scooby-Doo, because both Matthew Lillard and the television show Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts, starring Vincent Price. That show ruled.
It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it.
Number 1. Coming as a surprise to absolutely no one, The Thing from 1982, a remake of the 1951 film, follows a group of American researchers in Antarctica who encounter The Thing, an extraterrestrial life form that assimilates then imitates other organisms. This is the undisputed masterpiece of horror in general, let alone remakes. Okay, I did a top 50 horror films of all time, and guess what? This is number 1. Nothing beats it. I'm not gonna even have that conversation. No, but in all seriousness, it's undisputed champion. I can't even explain myself. It's like, just watch it again. If you haven't seen any of these 20 films, go check them out. And if you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.